Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.
Evening everyone, welcome to the penultimate round of the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour. It is the penultimate pair of races in what has been a hugely exciting championship. These hybrid TCR cars have provided some excellent racing, and we're expecting more of the same around a circuit that certainly I am very unfamiliar with. I think many of the drivers have been hurriedly learning over the last few days. Yes, we are in Latvia and the Bikernieki circuit, which is a bit of an unknown quantity for everyone, I think. Just myself, Andy McEwan, on commentary duties here tonight. Jack Oliphant is suffering with problems of a Wi-Fi related nature, we believe, so we hope that he gets that sorted before the final round in a week's time. But Jack, if he does get his Wi-Fi working, may well be tuning in to watch along wherever he is. But yes, unfortunately, just my dulcet tones that you'll have to listen to over the course of a pair of races and a qualifying session that will be starting in the next few minutes here at, as I said, the 7th of 8 circuits that we have visited on this very exciting European tour. Most of the other circuits, in fact all of them, are certainly more recognisable. We started in Spain at Barcelona, then we went to Paul Ricard, then we had the first of our two 40-minute sort of mini endurance races at the Temple of Speed at Monza before we returned to the two-race sprint race format at Austria's Red Bull Ring and Germany's Hockenheim Ring. A week ago we had our second 40-minute race. That was a really intriguing race there, which went right down to the last few laps at Spa, and now, as I said, we move to Latvia and then the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in a week's time, will host the championship showdown. Now, last time out at Spa, just the one race, so these were the podium finishes in that race, and it was Eric Axelsen managed to claim his second victory of the season, extending his championship margin over Nicky Taylor, who did not feature inside the top three. Josh Martin did, though. He was second and was chasing down Eric Axelsen in the final few laps. A slight difference in tyre strategy between the two of them meant that Josh Martin was really coming on strong in the second part of the race, but just couldn't quite get there. Another lap, even another corner or so, and it may well have been a different story. Andy Carroll, meanwhile, was a bit of a revelation with, again, a different tyre strategy, even to the two ahead of him. Started on the soft tyres with an early pit stop and managed to hang on to a brilliant podium finish. So they were your top three finishers last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, and it means that arriving here at Bikernieki, this is how the championship table looks, with Eric Axelsen on 210 points now, so he is 17 points clear of Nicky Taylor in second place. Joel Lask is third, but has a 5-point deduction from that total that still needs to be taken into account. So he's actually the better part of 10 points further back from Nicky Taylor, with Kyle Felvis in fourth, Josh Martin in fifth position. And you can see how tight it is really from sort of third on back, with Felvis just 4 points ahead of Martin, who's 3 ahead of Dalton Ayres, who is 4 ahead of Andy Carroll. And mathematically, with 4 races to go, the whole top 11 could still claim the championship. So Paul Zanatachi, Rich Hayden, Reece Bell and Mark Hughes, all technically speaking, could still score enough points. 114 points still up for grabs over the final 4 races and a couple of qualifying sessions as well. It means, though, that Jens Verhoeven, who was disqualified from the race a week ago at Spa, is not in championship contention, nor John Jones or Paul Laramie, but they've still been racing with us for most of the season, getting some decent results. Kenny Press, another who was in trouble last time at Spa, and Jordan Brennan, who only raced with us for a couple of rounds, is still not at the bottom of the points table. Jordan Brennan, very, very rapid, and was our race winner at Monza. So that's how the championship standings look. This is what they are fighting for, the shiny VRRC trophies, a trophy each for first, second and third in the championship, plus the driver of the round. And I've got a real sense of power coming over me right now, because normally it's a collaborative decision between myself and my co-commentator, Jack Oliphant. But tonight, I get to make the decision myself, so whoever impresses me the most over the course of the 2 races tonight will be the recipient of the Driver of the Round award. So that's what they're fighting for over the championship. There are lots of points on offer for what could be a crucial pair of races here tonight, and let's familiarise ourselves, shall we, with the arena for the touring car drivers to do battle tonight, the Bikernieki circuit, Latvia.
So here we are for round 7 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car Championship at Bikernieki. Down to turn 1, a really difficult braking point here, trying to get down to second gear just to get that front end of bike turn in, but you've got to make sure you don't get too hard on throttle or you will push that front end on under acceleration. Now, probably for me, one of the sketchiest parts of this track here, heading down over, I believe it's a bridge, trying to get braked slightly earlier to turn it in and over this crest. A really, really sketchy part, as I said. Very easy to push it too far wide there and end up in the gravel on the outside. Now into this right-hander, try and carry the speed through in 4th gear. It's pretty tricky that, because if you drop off boost, you will have to select 3rd, but you will lose momentum and time down this next straight. Carry 4 through here as well. Very easy to push the front end onto that left-hand side, onto the grass, and then through this really fast chicane. The key is not to carry too much speed on the way in, so you can focus getting the drive you see out on the exit. And then coming into the second to last corner, open the corner up, trail braking in and getting super committed through that bank corner, and open up last corner for yourself. Yet again, spot the exit nice and early. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday nights on Virtual Reality Racing Club's YouTube. Make sure you give the video a like and subscribe.
Well, quite the roller coaster ride, isn't it? The Bikernieki circuit here, the 2.2 mile high speed ring. That's not actually the full layout. So the circuit in its full length is almost twice the length, but this has got quite enough twists, turns, undulations, and concrete walls to be dealing with, I think, for tonight. This is a very unforgiving circuit, almost more like a rally stage, really, than a racetrack, isn't it, in the traditional sense, and it's for sure going to mix things up here tonight. So we are already well into the 10-minute qualifying session, with almost half the session gone, and because it's a reasonably short lap, we've already got some times on the board, and it is Joel Lask, then, who has got the advantage. So Joel Lask, third in the championship coming into the night, is on provisional pole, but look how evenly matched they are. The top four separated by less than a tenth of a second. Eric Axelsson, who already has started from pole position 3 times this year, he has been officially now named the qualifying king, and at the moment, second place, the best that he can manage, with Nicky Taylor, the championship leader, in third, and Elliot Dalton-Ayres 6th in the points, rounding out that top 4, and they've then got about a tenth of a second over Josh Martin in 5th, with Andy Carroll 6th, Paul Zanatachi 7th, Kyle Felvers down in 8th position, Paul Laramie and Reese Bell to round out the top 10. So following Eric Axelsson here as he winds his way through the S section towards the end of the lap then, and into this tightening right-hander downhill, and then they fling it through this 90 left onto the pit straight again. And you can see the pit lane there with a fairly aggressive entry. Almost looks like another variation of the track that they're taking, but the pit lane limiter line obviously doesn't come up until quite late on. They're able to really attack pit entry. Nicky Taylor, though, attacking the final corner on what looks like being a flying lap. He's just gone past Elliot Dalton-Ayres, and no, they both head into the pit lane. So had been on the flying lap a moment or two ago, was stuck behind Elliot, and having gone through, hasn't then been able to improve. What can Paul Zanatachi manage then? Paul Zanatachi, easy for me to say, has had a couple of decent qualifying efforts recently. 4th place on the grid the last 2 weeks for Paul. Only 7th here, but the very, very fine margins that we're dealing with mean that if you can find even the smallest of advantages, you should be able to move up quite a few positions on the grid. So that is for sure what Paul is going to be trying to do here. And as he heads through that first sector, that looks like an improvement, doesn't it? So a green first sector, personal best for Paul, who arriving here at Bikernieki is 8th position in the championship. He's had 1 podium finish throughout the... In fact, no, sorry, he hasn't. He's had 2 top 5s, both of them coming in the last couple of weeks, but yet to appear in the podium places. Turning his way now through the top end of the circuit, one of the few bits of the track with a little bit of runoff area, a smallish gravel trap there to catch you, but this really does feel like you're almost like you're barreling along the old Monza circuit, that, doesn't it? And when I say old, I mean the 50s and 60s version, with these tree-lined and concrete barrier-lined roads winding their way through the parkland setting. And Zanatachi really showing here the commitment that you need to go well around this track. Now, it's not a huge surprise to see most of the drivers out there on the soft tyres. Remember, they've got 3 different compounds to choose from. Around here, I would think you would want the soft tyre. That's going to have big advantage, I would have thought. This is probably the most technically demanding of the circuits that we race at all season long. And Kyle Felvers has absolutely mastered it, look, because Kyle Felvers, out of absolutely nowhere, pulls over a 1/10 and a half on the rest of the field. So Felvers 4th in the points, arriving at this penultimate pair of races, and he has just staked his claim to the pole position, and he immediately backs off. I think he knows that he's not going to go much quicker than that. So Kyle Felvers with a late improvement then, and remember, pole position for race 1 is worth a championship point. It's only 1 point, but that 1 point could prove to be really important. Now, can Joel Lask, as he heads through the right-handers at the top end of the circuit, and yeah, getting a message, a bit of useful information there from Rich Hayden to say that the soft tyres really are only lasting 2 to 3 laps. So come the race later on, to finish the point I was starting to make, your tyre choice could be critical. This place is really going to work those front tyres pretty hard, and so therefore at least a medium, maybe even a hard tyre, could be the more durable one for the race. But as I said, technically demanding circuit, you need the grip from the tyre in order to go quickly, so that's going to be a really interesting balancing act. Eric Axelsson there going into 2nd place, so he jumps onto the front row again. He had been demoted down to 3rd with Felvers' recent improvement, but Eric Axelsson now jumps back ahead of him by a couple of hundredths of a second, so that's good news for Axelsson, who is now a couple of places ahead of his nearest championship rival. It's been a really good season, this, for Eric. Mr. Consistency, he's been really across the races that we've had so far. He's been in the top 10 in every one of them, and he has had 2 race wins, 2 second places and 2 fourth places as well. So Eric Axelsson consistently banking the points, whilst others have had perhaps higher highs than he has. There are others who have had more podiums. For example, Nicky Taylor has appeared on the podium 5 times to Eric Axelsson's 4. But Eric, when he's not been on the podium, has still been consistently finishing in the top half dozen or so, and that's how you win championships. Joel Last then winding his way around. Paul Laramie, I can see, has stopped out on circuit, so his qualifying session appears to be done, but that will very soon be the case for all of them, because we've only got 35 seconds or so left on the clock. The lap time's now winding down. Are we going to see any late improvers? Joel Lask will just about sneak across the line to start one more lap, and that's 118.881, so not quite an improvement, I don't think, there for Joel. He stays in third. Paul Laramie working his way around, not at a particular... I suppose he is pushing on reasonably hard through the quick right-handers at the top end of the circuit. Eric Axelsson, meanwhile, is on pole position. Axelsson's got ahead of Felvers, so 2 quick laps in a row there for the qualifying king, and Eric Axelsson living up to the nickname, isn't he? That's a really impressive effort. Look at that, he's over a 10th quicker than Felvers now, so Axelsson, maybe the bonus point is going to be going his way as things stand. Andy Carroll pushing a bit too hard there. That was a mistake that I expected a few people to be making through that particular sequence of corners. That's the first couple of corners, I think, through the quick right-left chicane. But Andy Carroll is apparently still setting purple sector times, even with that runoff. Although this lap time registering as over 2 minutes, which doesn't seem quite right to me. So I would have imagined he's just set a lap time. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, Andy Carroll will see what the lap time is at the end of it as he hurls it through the final few corners. Lots of improvements further back with Kenny Press and then John Jones both improving. John Jones briefly into 9th place, but Kenny Press stealing that 9th away from him. This is a real aggressive run from Andy Carroll, clipping all of the curbs. And yeah, I think he realised that lap had well and truly got away from him. So Andy Carroll dives for the pit lane. His session done now. Can Nicky Taylor improve on 4th position? Could do with improving on 4th position, because his championship rival, the points leader Eric Axelsson, is on pole position and doesn't look like being beaten. Lask, to me, looks like he's backed off here. Yes, he has. So Lask bailing for the pit lane, and that is almost certainly going to be it for the qualifying session then. So it is another pole position for Eric Axelsson. We'll hear from him on the other side of the break. An entertaining qualifying session here then at the Bikernieki circuit has seen Eric Axelsson assume his regular position of pole position for race 1. It's the 4th time that Eric has topped a qualifying session so far this season. 4 out of 7 qualifying sessions have seen the Swedish assassin on the top of the pile, and Eric joins us again here. And that was an important session, I think, Eric, not only from a championship perspective, because you've gained another point towards your championship challenge, but this is going to be a difficult circuit, I think, at which to overtake. So getting that early track position from starting on pole position could be really important.
Yeah, you're right, Andy. It's such a tight and narrow track. I think it's going to happen a lot during the race, and yeah, this one is going to be interesting for sure.
It looks like a really fun circuit to drive. It's one that I'm not familiar with at all. I've never driven it on a sim. Honestly, never heard of it until a few weeks ago. What is it like to drive it? It's very unforgiving, I think. There's not much runoff area.
It's unforgiving and it's fast. It feels really fast, and like with the concrete walls being so close everywhere, there's not much runoff area, as you say. So yeah, it feels really good to start on pole here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's helped you out. It gives you another championship point, so you extend that margin now. 4 races to go, and you've got a decent lead in the points here, haven't you, Eric? What's your sort of game plan for these final 2 weeks? Are you still on the attack, or are you just trying to protect that lead now?
Well, I don't have that much of a gap, I think. So, and with a point system, it can change really quickly. So you know, I just need to keep my head down and try to get points in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll leave you to your preparations then, Eric. But congratulations, a 4th pole position of the season. That's really impressive. Well done.
Thank you, Andy.
Eric Axelson then on pole position. I think we've got time just quickly to have a word with the man who will be starting even alongside him on the grid, Kyle Felvis, with a decent effort there. Kyle, it looked like it might be pole position for a while, but Eric just managed to sneak one in at the end. We saw when you finished your fastest lap, you immediately backed off. Did you feel that was as quick as you could go?
No, I had a feeling someone would go quicker. I think I backed off because I was just going for a cool down lap, but Eric's lap was that he's quick. That was a very quick lap.
It was a very impressive lap, and he certainly seems to think that gives him a good advantage going into the race. But what do you think? Are there any places where you can an attack? Because if you get the chance to go past him, you could do with going for it, couldn't you?
I reckon sit behind and sort of hope he makes a mistake and use that to my advantage.
So it's the kind of track you reckon where if you apply the pressure, maybe drivers are going to be slipping up, and if you make a mistake here, it could be really costly.
Yeah, I think people are going to be making mistakes a lot, and it like Eric said, the walls are so close, it's so tight track. Like, it's going to be difficult.
It is. We're looking forward to seeing what happens here. It's going to be a venture into the unknown, I think, for all of us. Kyle, thanks for stopping by for a quick chat. We'll let you go and prepare for the race. Best of luck, mate.
Thanks, Andy.
Kyle Felvis then starting on the front row alongside Eric Axelson, and always interesting to hear from the drivers as they prepare for the race, especially around a circuit, as I said, that we're not terribly familiar with, the drivers aren't terribly familiar with, and we will learn a lot over the next 15 minutes or so, where you can overtake, how easy it might be to defend from the front of the field, and if you're going to make a mistake, how costly could that prove to be? For someone like Eric Axelson starting on pole position here, he's got an 18-point cushion now over Nicky Taylor in the championship. Nicky starts 4th, so in a way, Eric doesn't have to push too hard in this race. He just needs to make sure he finishes ahead of Nicky, ideally ahead of Joel and Kyle as well, of course, but you know, if he does make a mistake, that could really affect his championship hopes. So going to be a really intense 15 minutes of action this for Eric Axelson. So if you are new here to the VRRC, a quick reminder that this is a hybrid touring car championship. So the green number 15 next to all of the driver numbers on our very handy timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen denote the 50 uses of hybrid that they have, and when the race gets underway in a few seconds, we'll see what their starting tyres are as well. But for now, we're about to go racing for 15 minutes here at Bikernieki, and that might have been a jump that from Joel Lask from 3rd on the grid. He gets a really good start, and we'll try and split the 2 front row starters. Axelson, the green on the right, the purple on the left. As we looked at it, there was Kyle Felvis, but in the end, Lask will slot in behind. But was that a jump start? We'll try and get confirmation on that if we can. Josh Martin out wide over the curb. Kyle Felvis trying to take it immediately to Axelson, though. Round the outside, he's challenging for race lead, side by side between the 2 for the race lead and 2 of our championship contenders, but Axelson hangs on to the advantage as they drop downhill at high speed into this really tricky right-left chicane, where we've seen already a few drivers out into the weeds. The leaders keep it nice and tidy. A couple of them running wide. Further back, though, that's Kenny Press into the barriers. Kenny Press off the road. Didn't see whether he jumped or whether he was pushed, but either way, the end result is him in the concrete wall. Nicky Taylor, meanwhile, has dropped behind Josh Martin on the first half a lap, so that's important. Nicky Taylor, second in the points, remember, has lost a position from where he started, and look at the gap already that the top 3 have on that chasing group. So interesting stuff then. It is Axelson who leads. It's Felvis in second place, Joel Lask in third, Josh Martin fourth, Nicky Taylor in fifth. They've all used their hybrid button twice already on this opening lap, and they're coming through towards the end of that opening lap into this really tight downhill right-hander, which I think is a potential place to launch an attack, but no one quite close enough to do it for the time being. So 1 lap in the books then. Axelson leads, Felvis second, Joel Lask on the hybrid button though has had a good run out of the final corner, and he's going to try and get to the inside of the youngster. He's got the inside into turn number 1. Joel Lask going for it. Carl Felvis hangs tough round the outside though. There is still a bit of an overlap though. Lask is still there on the inside line. Door to door they go. There's a little bit of contact on the exit there as neither driver wants to give way, and already Joel Lask, I think, finding out how tough it's going to be to execute an overtake on somebody as evenly matched as you are. And another bit of a squirt on the hybrid there for Felvis on the exit of the corner. Drags him back away from the third place man behind. Zanatachi there, meanwhile, battling away with Mark Hughes. Pulls Zanatachi down in 10th position. Mark Hughes, though, goes off the road in front of him, and that almost allows Reese Bell to get past the pair of them. In fact, I think Reese will get past both of them. They've both gone past Hughes, and now Reese Bell in the HFT Academy car. Up the inside, there is another bit of door banging, and actually Zanatachi does well there to keep Reese Bell at bay. Worth mentioning that every driver on the grid apart from Mark Hughes is on the medium tyre, so as Rich Hayden was suggesting might be the case at the start of the night, that is going to be the tyre of choice. The medium tyre for the races should hang on, but I wonder whether maybe we might see some people go for a different strategy in race 2, because of course that's the reversed grid. If you are a championship contender, you need to make progress. Maybe the soft tyre might suddenly seem a little bit more of a valid option. Andy Carroll then 7th place as he goes across the start-finish line. The lead gap for Axelson is 1.1 seconds. Felvis, though, can't shake off Joel Lask. They're all using hybrid pretty much at the same rate. There are probably only a couple of parts of the circuit, realistically, where you'll want to use the hybrid. Remember, once you press the button, it stays on automatically for another 10 seconds. So there's no point pressing it as you're heading into a tight corner part of the circuit where you're on the brakes, because you're wasting the hybrid then. So really, it's down sections like this where we might see drivers jumping on the button, but for now they are all just continuing without it, trying to save some perhaps for the later part of the race. Worth pointing out that Axelson is closing, Felvis is closing in on Axelson on this lap slightly. He's about 3/10 quicker than Eric through the first half of the lap. So Kyle Felvis, now that he started to shake off Joel Lask, actually proving what sort of speed he got here, and he might well be able to take the fight to the race leader. And he could do with doing that, really, because Eric Axelson, if he wins this race, will score another 25 championship points. That's what you get for winning a race in this championship. There's also 3 bonus points, remember, for the fastest lap. So I'll try and keep you up to date with who's setting fastest laps as we go through the race, because 3 bonus points, that's quite a lot, actually. That can make the difference between if you finish, for example, 3rd or 2nd on the road. If you're 3rd, but with fastest lap, then you end up scoring as many, if not more points than you would do if you finished 2nd on the road. So we're seeing lots of people improving on their lap times, and we'll try and figure out who gets the fastest lap at the end of the race. For now, though, these leading 3 really concertinaing together. Less than a second now between Axelson, Felvis and Lask, so you've been following from on board the 3rd place man's car for that last lap, and you can really see those gaps coming down. So Axelson, is he trying to pace himself, trying to manage the tyres, or is it just that Kyle Felvis is in a better rhythm at this point? He's getting a bit of a slipstream, remember, down some of the fast straights, and that is powerful in this Cupra TCR car. And maybe that's what's allowing him to stay with Axelson, despite the fact he's used 1 less hybrid use than the 2 drivers around him. Josh Martin in 4th has only used 5 hybrid pushes. Nicky Taylor just used some there down that straight to try and close in on Josh Martin. That's battle for 4th place coming through, and Martin was sideways there, almost off the road for Josh Martin. Did he hang on to it? Yes, he did, but that was the first sign maybe of those mistakes that Kyle Felvis was talking about. If you can just fill the mirrors of the car ahead and keep the pressure on them, they might make a mistake, but actually it's Taylor's turn to get it wrong this time. He bounces wide over the curve out of the final turn, and that means he's not close enough now to Josh Martin down the pit straight. Has to jump on that hybrid button to try and undo the damage done from a poor run off the final corner. Oh, Martin completely sideways this time, though. Surely he won't save it. Well, he does, but he runs out wide, opens the door for Nicky Taylor, and that is exactly what Felvis was saying. Andy Carroll, I noticed, was off in the background as well, and he actually found the wall, so Carroll might be out of the race. Josh Martin coming back, though, at Nicky Taylor. Round the outside, he needs to clear him, and he does. Fantastic stuff from Josh Martin. Back into 4th position. That was incredible stuff. And Josh Martin, it is almost like he put the handbrake on there when he got sideways. Not sure if that's what it was. Changed for second place as well. Last could be inside of Felvers. So, tell you what, for a track where you supposedly can't overtake, they're giving it a really good go. Hip and shoulder there for Felvers into the door of Lask's car. But Joel is through. Felvers tries to get back up the inside, but there's no room. And Joel Lask is into second place. So that's big for the championship then. Joel Lask, who was coming into tonight's races, less than 10 points ahead of Felvers for third in the championship, and now ahead of him on the road as well, with just over half of this first race of the night to go. So lots happening there all of a sudden, and I wonder how much of that was caused by using the hybrid down the pit straight. Nicky Taylor, ooh, that was a bit of a desperate lunge up the inside at the last corner, and of course, now that Andy Carroll is off the road, he is no longer pressuring Elliot Dalton-Ayres, so Dalton-Ayres is closing in on these two without having to watch his mirrors at all. Taylor looked like he was shaping up for another move on Josh Martin there as they headed through turns 1 and 2. You don't know where to look in this race, do you? You've got this battle at the front and a battle for 4th place, which is on again. Nicky Taylor, for the second lap in a row, is up the inside of Josh Martin through turns 2 and 3, but he just can't quite keep his nose on the inside line as they head down into the quick right-hander. So Josh Martin fending him off. Hybrid usage as well is a big advantage to Josh Martin. He's got 8 uses of it left, so he's not yet used half even of his allocation as we tick now towards the half race distance, whereas Nicky Taylor only has 5 left. So Nicky using plenty of hybrid to try and get through, but not yet succeeding in getting up into that 4th place. So excellent racing this, very close certainly. Every time they go door to door like this, they are taking a risk around here though. You're only one slight misstep away from a humongous accident that could take you out of the race, and for people like Nicky Taylor in particular, take you out of the championship battle. So Nicky need to be careful if he's going to try and make the move on Josh Martin. It needs to be a genuine move, it needs to be a clean move, and it needs to ideally be one that isn't going to leave him vulnerable to attack from Elliot Dalton-Ayres if it doesn't work. So bear in mind we've got that reverse grid race coming up later on. Yes, Nicky's losing point to his championship rivals in this race, but as it stands would line up a few places ahead of them on the grid for race 2. Oh, Josh Martin up the inside. Well, that was ambitious. There was just about a gap, maybe, but Nicky Taylor on the wider line gets off turn 2 a little bit quicker and manages to hang on. But Taylor really is hanging on here, isn't he? Doesn't look particularly comfortable in this 5th place. Yes, he's being delayed by Josh Martin, no doubt about that, but that is disrupting his rhythm, I think, and now allowing Dalton-Ayres to close in on him. Elliot Dalton-Ayres does run under the HFT Racing banner, so technically as a teammate to Nicky Taylor, I'm surprised to see this level of aggression between the two of them, given the fact that Nicky is some 23 points ahead of him in the championship, and 2nd place in the championship, Nicky Taylor. There's another one of his HFT Racing teammates there, Kyle Felvers, right on the tail of Joel Lask. They're battling, of course, is sort of handing the victory now to Eric Axelsen. Although I'm certainly not giving him the winner's trophy yet. We all know that these things can change sometimes right at the end of the race, even when it looks like someone's got a win in the bag, and Axelsen will be fully aware of that for sure. He may be 1.7 seconds up the road now, but he needs to keep his concentration up, and Dalton-Ayres, look, has got past Nicky Taylor. Dalton-Ayres into 5th place now, so Nicky Taylor losing even more ground here. This is a concern for the man 2nd in the points, especially given the fact that the other 3 of our top 4 championship runners are all filling out the podium places right now. Axelsen the leader, Lask in 2nd. You ride on board with Felvers in 3rd, who is desperate to try and get this place back. Now, look at the hybrid numbers that are left. Kyle Felvers still with 5 uses of hybrid left. Joel Lask only 3, and Eric Axelsen only 2. So Axelsen getting away in part because these two are fighting, but also in part because he's using the hybrid button pretty well. On the inside is looking Kyle Felvers. This is a risky place to try and move. He's got a good overlap though, a good run out of that quick chicane, but the inside line is not actually the quickest way through that corner. You need the wide entry to really carry the momentum through the turn, and that belonged to Joel Lask. So 2nd place continues to belong to him. Paul Laramie, meanwhile, and Reece Bell tangling there. So Mark Hughes on his hard tyres gets past them. And I think I just saw, in fact, Reece Bell out wide. Is he letting Laramie back through? Looked like he might be there. So, and that's Lask! That's Lask! Joel Lask is off into the barriers. Joel Lask, what has gone on there for Joel? 3rd place in the championship. Joel Lask, he was running in 2nd on the road, and he is off the track and out of the race because he's headed back to the pit lane. So we need to try and figure out what happened there then. Joel Lask out of the race, and that is big, big news. As soon as you jump to the pit lane like that, that is your race over. You're not allowed to rejoin the road, and Joel Lask, that is a huge, huge turn up for the books. Was there contact with Felvis? Did he just make a mistake under pressure from Kyle? We didn't see how it started, but we will certainly try and find out after the race for you. That was a big drama, and Joel Lask will be furious with that, having qualified well, fought his way into second position, and now it will be a 0-point score. Now, they do have dropped scores, remember. They all dropped their lowest week of racing, if you like. So you get a weak score after each pair of races, or one race if it's an endurance round, and whatever your lowest score is, you drop. The endurance race is running to double points to try and make up for that, so there are the same number of points available every week, and if this does become his lowest score, then he can at least drop it. But Joel, of course, has already had a couple of slightly off weekends, although I say that actually, not really. Had an 8th place at Monza. That was probably his lowest weekly score of the season so far. So, in fairness, if he were to have another disaster in race 2, which is unlikely since he'll be starting at the front of that grid now with the full reversal, but if he were to have a disaster, then the drop scores could well come to his rescue. So, just under 3 minutes to go. Axelsen with the race lead then. Felvis in second, Martin in third, Dalton Ayres in, and Nicky Taylor in 5th position then. Nicky Taylor closing back in here slightly on Dalton Ayres, isn't he, through the first couple of corners here. Taylor with one more hybrid use than Elliott has, so they're pretty even on that front, really. And of course, with Lask off the road now, we really have seen a big separation in the leaders. Felvis is 1.3 seconds behind Axelsen. He's 2 seconds ahead of Martin, who is then similar distance ahead of Dalton Ayres. So Dalton Ayres and Taylor, the 2 closest cars on the track now. And as they head down into the braking zone, is Taylor closing on this lap? Maybe fractionally. And of course, with Lask out now, this is an opportunity for people like Nicky and Kyle and Eric to really outscore him over the curbs then. Nicky Taylor will have, at the end of this lap, probably 2 more laps to go, wind their way through the trees, and this really unique circuit, nothing like anything else that we're racing at this season. We've spent the rest of the year racing on the big, high-speed F1 style circuits. This one's certainly not likely to be hosting the Latvian Grand Prix anytime soon, but it's almost more fun because of it. The concrete walls lining the circuit, the high-speed, bumpy nature of it, and you kind of have to use some of the curbs, it seems, through some of the fastest parts of the circuit to really generate good lap time. Taylor certainly using the curbs there on the exit of turn number 2 to try and carry as much momentum off the corner. That is Reese Bell off the road, and that's going into the final corner, so he's apparently got it wrong through the penultimate turn, it would seem, and found the barriers, but rejoins in 10th place, and worth him continuing because we do have this full reversal, remember, so he'll a couple of places maybe in this race, but that will help on the grid for race number 2 later on. Back to Nicky Taylor, who definitely is closer to Dalton Ayres on this lap. So Dalton Ayres also out of hybrid, interestingly. We know how powerful that hybrid can be, although it seems to be making a bit less of a difference round here. But all it takes is Nicky to get a really good run, for example, out of the final corner. That's what he'll be trying to do. Get the slipstream, get the hybrid button pressed down the pit straight, and try and attack into turn 1. So we'll ride on board with Nicky. We're coming into the penultimate couple of corners now. Watch for that green number next to his name to illuminate in orange, as it is for Felvis and Martin up the road. Oh, there's a wobble there for Dalton Ayres as well. This is a prime opportunity for Nicky. He's in the slipstream. He's interestingly not using the hybrid, actually, so he thinks he can get alongside without it, which he can, but can he make the move? No. Has to slot back in behind Dalton Ayres, who defends again into turn number 2. Watch for the switch back here from Taylor. Tries to take the late apex, carry the momentum actually off the high line in the end. When does he use this hybrid then? When is he going to try a jump on that extra boost that he's got to move through? Coming down into the chicane now. He's looking to the outside. He's on the grass, Nicky. What are you doing? Nicky Taylor around the outside. That is an outrageous overtake. Nicky Taylor through into 4th place. That was some fully committed driving, and it really costs Dalton Ayres because Paul Zanatachi will come through into 5th position as well. That would become, if he stays there, Paul's 3rd top 5 finish of the season, but that was An absolutely ridiculous overtake from Nicky Taylor. How he pulled that off, I do not know. It was squeaky clean as well. And here was me questioning why he wasn't using the hybrid. Oh no, don't throw it away, Nicky. All over the grass he goes. Only half a lap to go for Nicky. Just needs to keep it calm now, and he's got that 4th place. No, Eric Axelsen then through the final couple of corners. Kyle Felvers has been charging after him on the previous couple of laps, but he's not quite going to get there. It will be, for the 3rd time this season, a victory for Eric Axelsen. Extends his championship advantage now. Kyle Felvers with a strong 2nd. Josh Martin in 3rd, and Nicky Taylor, what an overtake that was on the last lap to claim 4th position. Zanatachi 5th. Dalton Ayres comes through in 6th place ahead of Andy Carroll. Mark Hughes here on his hard tyres will be 8th to Paul Laramie. And John Jones, Laramie 9th, Jones 10th with Reese Bell in 11th. And Kenny Press did actually get going after heading to the pit lane for repairs. And you can see John Jones actually could do with a few repairs to his black and red Cupra as well. But he's going to come through to round out the top 10 finishers after what was an incredibly dramatic race there. And certainly some real talking points at the end of it. Joel Lask retiring into the concrete barriers, and then what a move from Nicky at the end of the race. Well, we'll pack all of the action in a few moments' time. We're going to take a very short break, and then we'll be hearing from our podium finishers. Well, a dramatic first race of the night here from Bikernieki in the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour sees another race win, a 3rd of the season for Eric Axelsen, but really most of the talking points revolve around what was going on behind him. We'll get to all of that in good time, but for now we'll start with our race winner, and Eric making a bit of a habit of this. You've had 4 pole positions this season, and on 3 occasions you've converted that into a race win. It was exactly the same story here today. How was that race from your point of view?
Oh, it was a good race. I had a decent start, and yeah, just trying to, keep my head down and put consistent laps in. Then I saw Joel and Kyle started to battling for P2, and yeah, just try to like nail the laps.
Yeah, you were able to pull away from them at that point, but then the last few laps we noticed that gap coming down. Were you struggling with tyres, or were you just sort of pacing yourself then?
I used quite a lot of hybrid in the early stages of the race to try to pull away a little. So maybe Kyle had more than me in the second half of the race, but he is very fast also, so yeah.
Well, thankfully you built up enough of a cushion in the middle part of the race. It's another win, more points on the board, and that must make you feel a little bit less nervous about race 2 now, because I can't imagine this reverse grid race is going to be a lot of fun, at least in the early stages. There's quite a high potential for things to go wrong here, isn't there?
It surely is. Yeah, I would say quite nervous starting from last at Bikernieki.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Eric, but at least you've got some points in the bag with another fantastic race win. Well done.
Thank you.
Eric Axelson then gets himself another win, but as I said, was being chased hard there in the final few laps by Kyle Felvis, and Kyle, I believe, can also join us now in the commentary box. Kyle, well done, strong second place there. Good battles that you had there in the early stages with Eric. It did look for a while like you might be able to challenge him for the victory, but then Joel Lask was making a menace of himself in the middle part of the race.
Yeah, Eric had unbelievable pace, and I sort of made a mistake which allowed Joel to get past.
And then Joel had a moment. Now, we didn't see what happened to him. You, I guess, would have had a better than us. He ended up in the barriers. How did that happen?
He sort of just took too much of the corner and hit the barrier on the inside. I tried to make a move a few corners before and lost time from it, so I'm sort of thankful for that, because I would have been collected as well.
Right, okay, so he did it himself then. That's interesting stuff. Pressure perhaps getting to him a bit. Not to you, though. You were icy cool in the second half of that race, chasing down Eric. Not quite a race win, but you've got to be happy with, again, some more good points scored.
I wouldn't say icy cool, but yeah, I'm happy with second.
Good stuff, Carl. We'll let you go and concentrate on race number 2. Well done.
Thank you.
And in third place, the sideways and spectacular Josh Martin. There were a couple of times there, Josh, where you arrived at the hairpin at turn 2, almost pointing backwards. There were a couple of people suggesting you were doing that intentionally to get the rotation, but I think maybe you caught a bit too much rotation a few times.
Yeah, I don't know what it's been with me in turn 1 today. I don't know, if the curves bounce me funny. I just keep backing it in on the brakes, but as long as it looks good on camera, that's the main thing. It's slowing me down though to keep doing it.
It certainly caught my attention, I'll give you that. But it all worked out in the end. A solid third place. Bit of an up and down race you had there. And the battle with Nicky in the early stages was particularly interesting. I mean, you're not out of this championship fight either, are you? So you've got to fight people like Nicky and Kyle and Joel when you get the chance to.
Yeah, I didn't expect to end up on the podium for that race, but I got a really good start around the outside. And then and I was trying to save some hybrids at the start. And I think Nicky was using a few more than me. So that's why he kind of caught up. I think the front boys pulled away, and then when I started using my hybrid, I thought, I might be able to catch Kyle, but then it was like, if I push too much, this track's so easy to have a crash on. So I tried to rein it in a little bit and go for a fastest lap, and then T1 then got me on my fastest lap attempt, so didn't quite get that either.
You did well to keep it out of the concrete wall, to be honest. Josh, well done on another podium appearance there. I make that your 5th of the season, actually, so it's been a pretty good hit rate with podiums, and fingers crossed that you can get somewhere near there again in race 2. Nope, he's gone already. Right then, excellent stuff. Josh Martin, eager to get onto the grid, because we're actually less than a minute away from getting our reverse grid race started. Full reverse grid for this one, remember, minus any non-finishers. So when I said that Joel Lask was going to be starting at the front for this one, that was a little bit incorrect, actually, because he was a non-finisher, so doesn't get included in the reversal. So it's actually Kenny Press and Reese Bell on row 1, John Jones and Paul Laramie row 2, Mark Hughes and Andy Carroll then together on row 3. Then you start getting into some of the championship frontrunners. Dalton Ayres is 7th on the grid, sharing the 4th row with Paul Zanatachi. Then Nicky Taylor, Josh Martin, Kyle Felvis, Eric Axelson, top 4 from the previous race, are all there towards the back of the grid ahead, crucially, of Joel Lask. So here we go then. The red lights go on for the second time tonight. We're racing at Bikernieki, and a good start made from the outside of row 1 there by Reese Bell. At the front of the field, it may well be the HFT Racing Academy driver. Leads them into turn 1. Look at Dalton Ayres, that will be inside of everybody. The blue and yellow car with a storming start has gained a few places already. So too Josh Martin. Look on the outside as they head into turn 2. But it's Bell who leads the way. It's Press in second. Laramie round the outside of Andy Carroll for 3rd. And then it's Nicky Taylor. Nicky Taylor into 5th place already. And this is exactly what he has to try and do. Take advantage of better track position for the reversed grid. But he's got Dalton Ayres round the outside of him again. Over the curbs they go. Oh, Press and Carroll have tangled. Kenny Press, Andy Carroll both into the barriers. Paul Laramie's out wide as well, and that will put Nicky Taylor into 2nd place with is that John Jones behind him? Yes, it is. Jones in 3rd, Dalton Ayres 4th, Martin in 5th, but big winner out of all of that was Nicky Taylor, who comes from deep in the field to get into the runners-up spot halfway around the first lap. Dalton Ayres comes past John Jones there into 3rd position. Now, John Jones, interestingly, is on the soft higher. Pretty much everybody else, everyone apart from Mark Hughes, on the medium. So John Jones trying to hold on to some of his trap position maybe with those grippy, softer compound tyres in the early stages, and it's sort of working. He's still there in a reasonably strong 4th place, but there you can see he's under pressure from Josh Martin, who's hunting around on the outside, and Josh, another driver who, if he scores well in this race, could put himself right into the championship mix. Going to the last round, around goes Paul Laramie. He was already having a moment there, I think, and then Kyle Felvers just sort of caught him halfway around the slide, so I don't think that was entirely Kyle's fault, but it has delayed Kyle. He's got Joel Last looking to his outside through turn 1. That doesn't work, and Paul Zanatachi comes steaming up the inside of Joel into the tightened second corner there. You sort of go really quickly through turn 1, then gradually bring the speed down into the hairpin at turn 2, and I think Zanatachi might get the better of Joel Last. Guess he does, so Joel almost gaining a place, actually ends up losing one. So Reese Bell leads by now under a second over Nicky Taylor, but Dalton Ayres going with him. So Taylor and Dalton Ayres both closing in on the race leader. Josh Martin is up into 4th there because out wide has gone John Jones. So Martin into 4th, Felvers 5th, and Zanatachi 6th, with Jones down to 6th position. Oh, and into the back of Zanatachi goes. Joel Lask gets into the back of Jones, and it's Jones and Zanatachi out into the gravel trap there. Zanatachi gets going. John Jones pointing the wrong way will have to bounce his way back onto the track, and that definitely delayed Joel Lask because he was trying to avoid them and just couldn't quite prevent himself from sort of booping into the back of the spinning John Jones car. But as I said, these top 3 getting themselves together. Now, HFT-affiliated teammates here. The Academy driver Reese Bell ahead of the HFT Racing frontrunner Nicky Taylor. Eric Axelson is only 6th at the moment, so Taylor needs to try and win this race. And I would be amazed if his teammate Reese Bell puts up too much of a fight. Look, he leaves the door open on the inside line, and Nicky Taylor, with a bit of a use of hybrid there, goes through. Now, Reese Bell's job is to keep Elliot Dalton Ayres behind. Oh, Taylor's gone off! Nicky Taylor's gone off there. He got the lead, but he runs wide, and now they're 3 abreast. Through turn number 3, someone will have to give down the hill. Oh, a bit of a squeeze there from Bell to Taylor. It's Bell who sensibly backs out of it, but it is Dalton Ayres who goes into the lead of the race. So remember, these are all HFT affiliated drivers. So too Kyle Felvers in 4th, actually. So they're on for a good race here. They don't really need to be fighting too hard, but of course Dalton Ayres and Taylor fighting for a championship. Here comes Nicky up the inside line. That's a really good attempt at a pass. He's up over the curb though, and will scrabble for traction on the exit of the corner. Dalton Ayres has the momentum on the wide line, and they are door to door as they go down the short straight into the next quick right-hander, and it will be Nicky Taylor who goes ahead. So Nicky Taylor to the lead, down to 3rd, back to 1st again, all in the space of half a lap, and now he runs out wide, and Dalton Ayres almost, I thought he disconnected for a second there. That was a big, big moment as he went out of the right-hander. And Nicky Taylor, what a breathless race this is. Of all the weeks for Jack Oliphant not to be here, and it's possibly the race with the most exciting start to a race that we've had all season long. You've got to remember to breathe whilst I'm calling this one. So Taylor leads them. Dalton Ayres dropping back now finally in 2nd, Reese Bell in 3rd, Kyle Felvers 4th, Josh Martin 5th, Eric Axelson is up the inside of him actually in the background. I think the 2 green cars were overlapping into turn 1, but Josh Martin stays ahead for now. Axelson peeking to the inside. Now Eric isn't known for being a hugely aggressive driver, and I wonder whether he might just choose to try and force the mistake out of Josh Martin rather than forcing the issue. Reese Bell there getting out of the way of Kyle Felvers, so Reese Bell most definitely playing the team game, and he will now act as rear gunner to try and keep those 2 cars behind him. Bay, Eric Axelson, by the way, has the fastest lap, and that is, well, Reese Bell not doing a brilliant job of keeping Josh Martin behind because he goes straight off the road, and Josh Martin will get past him. Can Axelson go through as well? Yes, he can. So I wonder, is it more of a problem for Reese Bell rather than him just getting out of the way of his teammates who are side by side again at the front of the field? Dalton Ayres up the inside of Taylor. Taylor chops across his nose there and holds on to the lead. We're 5 minutes into an enthralling race, and this will set us up, remember, for the finale in a week's time at Silverstone. And all of these 5 drivers now at the front of the field are in championship contention. This is brilliant racing. The circuit where, I'll be honest, I didn't expect to see much brilliant racing, but the reverse grid races never fail to entertain us, and this one certainly is providing us with plenty of action so far. So Nicky Taylor leading the way. 2nd place Dalton Ayres. Round the outside goes Felvers. He's trying to find a route past Elliot Dalton Ayres, but couldn't do it through turn 1. Oh, Dalton Ayres sideways under braking, almost got into the back of his teammate, and Josh Martin sideways as well. Caught a glimpse of that in the mirror as he runs out wide, and Eric Axelson levers him aside and finishes the job on the exit. So Axelson up into 4th place. That was another moment there for Josh Martin. We heard him say in his post-race 1 interview how he's struggling under braking through those first couple of corners, and perhaps the rear of that car just not as stable as it needs to be, and it costs him 4th place. Right, now it's Kyle Felvers' turn to come up and attack Elliot Dalton-Ayres, and HFT teammates, certainly no team orders here, although I have to say Dalton-Ayres didn't make that too difficult for Kyle, who finished second in the previous race, has come from near enough the back of the grid in this one, and is back into P2, but the overtake that he'll have to make to win the race is going to undoubtedly be the hardest one of the lot, because it's his teammate Nicky Taylor who was second in the points coming into this week's racing. Now, the points will have been updated after race number 1. But let's see, Eric Axelsson, yeah, he's a long way ahead now. He is 26 points clear of Joel Lask, still second, with Nicky Taylor a point behind him. So Nicky Taylor 27 points behind Axelsson coming into this race, and really does not want to give up this race lead to Kyle Felvers, who himself is on 199 points. He's 41 off the championship lead. Through the first couple of corners they go then. The HFT teammates, are they now starting to work together? Remember, Tom O'Farrell reminding me that they do have a spotter who sort of talks the drivers through the race, lets them know what tyres of the drivers are on, what hybrid use they have, what the points are even, if he's really got the brain capacity to calculate that as he goes. And this is something that may well come in handy here, because they've got Axelsson catching them. They don't really want to be tripping over each other through this middle part of the race. Fastest lap, by the way, has now been stolen from Eric Axelsson by Joel Lask. So Joel Lask, who we haven't mentioned much, but he's he's about to take 6th place away from Reese Bell, or he's trying to anyway. On the inside of Reese Bell, there's the obligatory bit of side-to-side contact coming off the corner. Lask on the hybrid. He's only got 2 hybrid uses left, so he's really had to use that hybrid button quite a lot just to get into 6th position, and even that 6th place isn't yet in the bag. He does now go through there ahead of Reese Bell, but I don't think he's likely to make much more progress unless it all starts kicking off ahead of him, which it could, let's be honest, because the top 4 are covered by only a fraction over a second at the moment. And Lask, almost with a big lunge up the inside of Josh Martin. Now, what happened to Martin then? Because that seemed to come down by over a second in one corner, almost as if Josh Martin had had another moment somewhere. Anyway, he jumps onto that hybrid button now, so does Joel, who's now down to his last use with just under half the race to go, whereas Josh Martin still has 7 hybrid allocations left. But yeah, I think Josh must have had a little bit of a wobble there out towards the final couple of corners, and that's what dropped him back into the clutches of Joel Lask in the fight for 5th place. It allows the top 4 to make a bit of a break now. Then Taylor now 8/10ths clear of Felvers in second, who's a similar distance then ahead of this fight for 3rd place. Dalton-Ayres in 3rd, and Eric Axelsson, we're on board with him here in 4th place. I think Eric will be happy with this, honestly. A 4th place finish is a good place to be. Having won race 1, he's not dropping a huge amount of points to his championship contenders. You get 25 points for a win, that at the moment going to Nicky Taylor, 22 for Kyle Felvers in 2nd, 20 for Dalton-Ayres in 3rd, and then 18 for Felvers in 4th. So he's only dropping 7 points here to Nicky Taylor. He took 7 points out of him in the previous race, of course, because Nicky did fight his way through somehow into 4th place on the last lap. So at the moment they would break even pretty much as far as their points are concerned, but Eric of course got the pole position, so that was worth a bonus point. Could still be able to set a fastest lap in this one, although the tyres now probably past their best. Now he's on the hybrid button, he's forcing Elliot Dalton-Ayres to defend into the first corner. Lead gap also down now to less than it's been for a little while, but we'll focus on the 3rd place battle for now. Eric Axelsson looking to the outside at turn 2. You can see the wide line in gives him much better traction than coming off the corner, but then there's nowhere really to go with it. Dalton-Ayres cleverly there, positioning the car in the middle of the road, sort of half defending on the run into the quick right-hander at turn 3, and not allowing Axelsson a chance to get an overlap. Through the chicane then at 4 and 5, over the crest of the hill. That probably be the corner that's caught the most drivers out, I'd say, over the course of the night, but those two both negotiating it well. Then down into these 2 tricky 90-degree right-handers at the top of the circuit. Eric Axelsson perhaps will, force Dalton-Ayres to defend into the 2nd of those. Now let's watch for the exit speed here for Eric. He gets much better exit speed, but Dalton-Ayres tries to hold his car on the apex. Wasn't able to do it though. Axelsson's up the inside, and he jumps on that hybrid as well. This is a dodgy part of the circuit to go wheel to wheel through though, and Axelsson's got a championship to think about. Didn't feel that that was worth the risk, and drops back in behind Elliot again. They're really delaying themselves now though, allowing the top 2 to break away. And Felvers, by the way, close enough to Nicky, I would say, to have a go here. There you can see the 2 purple cars at the start-finish line now. Kyle Felvers 2/10ths quicker there nearly than Nicky on that lap, but then Nicky on the hybrid across the line just drags clear slightly of his young teammate. Through the first couple of corners they go. 4 minutes remaining. They're pairing off at the front, aren't they? 2 for the lead, Taylor and Felvis. 2 fighting for third, Dalton Ayres and Axelson. And then these 2 scrapping over 5th place, Josh Martin and Joel Lask. That is further down the order than either of them would have wanted to be running in this one. Joel Lask really cutting that corner there at turn 3. This is the part of the circuit where he got it wrong, and that's exactly what he did in the last race. He's done it again. I don't believe it. Joel Lask, as I was talking about it, absolute repeat of what he did in race 1. Took too much curb through turn 4, the entry to the chicane, and that unsettles the car, and into the concrete wall he goes. So Joel Lask, well, we were pondering the idea that this would probably become his drop score anyway, and now it certainly will. A non-finish in race 1, and down into 8th position again in this one, and that was a very poorly timed moment to mention his off in the previous race, wasn't it? We shall move on swiftly to talk about the fight for third, Dalton Ayres and Eric Axelson. And Eric Axelson, that moment there for Lask, a timely reminder, I think, to Eric that pushing a bit too hard going for the race win could end up costing him lots of points. It's such an easy place to make a mistake, and if you do make one, you're on a one-way journey into the concrete walls. So through the first couple of corners they head. The hybrid button there, Dalton Ayres, to try and defend from Axelson. So let's take a closer look at that hybrid usage then, because Nicky Taylor's using it now. He will have 3 uses left over the final 2.5 minutes. Kyle Felvis has 4, so Kyle is still a danger man here, I think. He's got more hybrid than any of the front runners. He's staying nicely within a second of Nicky Taylor, and there's going to be at least another lap left after this one. So, okay, he's only got 1 more hybrid use than his teammate, but that could prove significant given how evenly matched they are. And he's got the slipstream, and he's had a good run there through that right-hander. So Nicky Taylor still not able to relax just yet, and there are plenty of places where you could choose to deploy your hybrid round here. You might not get the full 10 seconds out of it before you have to hit the brake, but the straights are just about long enough to make it worthwhile. And through this part of the circuit, Nicky does seem to be being reeled in here by Kyle, who is later on the brakes. Look into this downhill sort of 90 right, 90 left to end the lap, and he's on a better line onto the pit straight, and crucially they've got time for 2 more laps. So here we go, they're both on the hybrid. Game on now between the HFT Racing teammates. That was a bit of a scrappy lap there for Nicky Taylor, and Kyle Felvis thinks that he's got an opportunity to maybe go around the outside at turn 1. He will force Taylor to defend into turn 2 and really takes that wide line in, on board with Felvis on the attack. The HFT team will be having kittens right now because they're going to go wheel to wheel down to turn 3. Again, they're both on the hybrid. This is going to be brave stuff. We know Nicky Taylor is brave through this sequence of corners. This is where he got 4th place away in the last race, but Kyle Felvis over the curb, gets a bit sideways. Taylor hangs on, but Felvis is quicker over the top of the hill. He's got the inside line for the left-hand kink, but the next real corner is a 90-degree right-hander for which he will be on the outside line. It doesn't matter, though. He's cleared him. Kyle Felvis into the lead of the race. Fantastic stuff between the teammates. Top quality racing, that. A 100% respect shown between the two of them. Not a hint of contact. That was just good, proper, hard racing. And now Kyle Felvis is ahead, and he's got 1 more hybrid use than his teammate Nicky Taylor has as well. And he's heading into the part of the circuit where, for me, Kyle has been quicker over recent laps. This downhill run through the final few corners, you can see Nicky Taylor's car just starting to understeer slightly. And Kyle Felvis looking a bit neater and tidy, but there is 1 lap to go, and we've seen already how easy it is to get things wrong. The slightest of mistakes round here can cost you an awful lot of time. Taylor, though, makes one of his own out of the final turn there. Kyle Felvis then, second in race 1, started towards the back couple of rows in this race, and could he now be on for a race victory? Kyle, who remember coming into the season, said he really didn't get on with front-wheel drive cars, but he's won twice already, once at Red Bull Ring, once at Hockenheim. Add that to a couple of other podium finishes that he's had, and he's really building together a very, very nice championship campaign, and that could prove to be a really important overtake to get ahead of his teammate and championship rival, Nicky Taylor. Now, what about third position here? Eric Axelson on the attack, still trying to find a way past Elliot Dalton Ayres, but the body language of Axelson's car is not quite as aggressive, is it? Well, I say that, actually. Jinx to the inside as they drop downhill. But Eric, I don't think he's going to throw absolutely everything at this. He's going to jump on the hybrid here, surely. Yes, he does, because it wasn't a great exit from Dalton Ayres. And Eric has his nose ahead. Can he chop across the nose of Elliot? Oh, this is risky stuff. Eric Axelson points leader. There is contact, but he keeps his foot in it. And another stupendous overtake by Eric Axelson. We've seen some really amazing overtaking from some of our front-running drivers here tonight, and that was another one to add to the list for Axelson. A pressure pass, and it nets him 3rd place with just a couple of corners corners to go, but Kyle Felvers, with a spectacular overtake late in the race himself, is going to come through to claim his 3rd victory of the season. What a performance that was from Kyle Felvers. Nicky Taylor comes home 2nd, and Axelson with a really, really fighting 3rd place. Dalton Ayres 4th, Josh Martin comes home in 5th place, and Reece Bell in 6th position. Didn't really have the pace to challenge the front runners in that race, but made absolutely sure that he helped his teammates where he could, and still manages to net a solid 6th place himself. 7th for Mark Hughes, 8th Andy Carroll, 9th will be Anatachi. Here he comes through the final couple of corners, and John Jones to round out the top 10 with Kenny Press. I believe the last of the finishers. Joel Lask we saw in the barriers again in exactly the same place that he did it in race 1, and Paul Laramie also a non-finisher from the early stages of what was a very, very dramatic race, and one that could prove pivotal in the championship campaign. Well, already we've got drivers filtering through into the commentary box, so we can now speak to our 3-time race winner this season, Kyle Felvers. I'll get on to your stats and your point situation in a moment, but first of all, Kyle, I want to talk about that overtake, because I thought Nicky Taylor was going to pull off the best overtake of the night in race 1, but I think you might just have pipped him. What a move.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of shouting at each other in our Google Meet session that we've got, because obviously the pace was there and Nicky didn't want to give it up, but we got past safely and made it a HFT 1-2.
I mean, you two keep finding yourself in this position, don't you? You are teammates, you work really well together as a team at HFT, but you're all so quick, so, you know, you must be kind of getting used to fighting for championships against each other. It doesn't get any easier though, does it?
No, I mean, me and Nicky have been fighting each other ever since the academy when we both joined and started in the TTs, so we've been fighting each other since then, and now we're teammates, so it's been a while, but it's been good.
And I mean, that overtake, as well as being a really impressive one, there was a lot of pressure riding on that. It's your teammate you're fighting with, so if it all goes wrong, that's going to be quite embarrassing, if nothing else. But also, the championship situation, you and Nicky both well and truly in this championship fight. So it was obviously a risk that you felt was worth taking from a championship perspective, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, I had warned Nicky that I was going to do it. So we were playing it safer than, say, someone that isn't in our team. Not saying we would go aggressive, but like, we were playing it more cautious so we can take each other out.
Well, it was certainly entertaining to watch. Kyle, huge congratulations on that race victory, and we'll see you again at Silverstone. Best of luck for that final week.
Thanks, Andy.
Well, Kyle Felvers, the race winner. Nicky Taylor, I wish I could give you both the race win. That's not how it works, but I will give you together the victory in best overtake of the night, because I think Kyle's was very good, but your one in the first race we didn't get the chance to talk about because it was only for 4th place, but I think it was Josh Martin you went round the outside of. That was some pretty committed stuff as well.
Yeah, mate, to be fair, I can't even remember it, but literally I'm sweating I can't swear, but sweating the things off, because it's literally about 33 degrees in my room, so like I'm sweating, and I was with Kyle and I was like, oh no, let's not fight, but I really want to win this because I know the gap between me and Eric is elongating more than what I want it to, so I would prefer the win if he stays behind Elliot, if he stays ahead of Elliot. But I was like talking to him and I was like, if Eric finishes ahead of Elliot, then I would prefer to get the win, but at the end of the day he was just quicker in that one, and so I couldn't really do much. But yes, that was sketchy. I was on edge every lap and just didn't really like the track for racing on because it was scary as hell.
Yeah, I can tell why I'm a commentator, not a racing driver, because I loved what I'd seen tonight. I like the tracks where it's not that easy to pass and where you've really got to sort of, grab the car by the scruff of the neck to make an overtake. I can imagine from the driver's seat it's a little bit edgier and perhaps not quite as much fun, but you put on a great show, the pair of you really did. Let's talk championship then for a moment. We'll get confirmation of the points on our screen in a few minutes' time, but we think you're still second in the points. We think that you're still 20-ish points away from the championship lead. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit coming up for the final week. How are you feeling ahead of those last 2 races?
I hate Silverstone, and all I can say is I'm very, very thankful that when the poll got put out to change it from a sprint to an endurance race, it got overturned, because I hate endurance races as well, and Silverstone endurance would have been screwed for me. But yeah, to be fair, only 23 points off Eric from what I can see, pending on appeals and stuff. But yeah, Carl's now moved up to 3rd, so that's winning. And yeah, 23 points, sorry, is a lot, but anything's possible. And if he has a screwed up round, or I mean, to be fair, if I have 2 DNFs, then that boosts my score even more. And going on about drop scores, I guarantee Joel binned it in the second race on like purposely, because he was saying in the chat beforehand, and Rich was saying they were working out the points with, if Joel DNF'd that race, he would have to get a podium in that race to have his round better than Monza. So with him DNFing that race, he actually gained more points than what he lost. So I can see why, if he might have just done it accidentally completely, but I think there might have been a bit of, I'm going to tactically make it so I look like I'm binning myself here. But yeah, no, to be fair, race 1 was shocking for me. Just didn't like it. Just couldn't gel with the car and got stuck in a battle that I didn't need to. Yeah, but race 2 was alright and just lacked a bit of pace at the end.
Well, it was still a solid night for you, Nicky, and you're still right in that championship fight heading to Silverstone, your favourite racetrack as it turns out. So we'll wish you the best of luck. Get practicing now, maybe. You've got a week to get some practice in before that last round.
I will do, and I'm so happy as well because I've just realised Kyle's finally moved up in the championship, so it means he'll finally have more weight. So it will be interesting to see what he can do with more weight. But at the end of the day, I don't think it really affects too many people because Eric done a sublime lap in quali with the max weight. So yeah, but anyway, it's been a good night, and it was quite fun for the second race. The first race I was a bit on edge, but the second race was quite good. So yeah.
Excellent stuff, Nicky. Great to have a chat to you as always. Well done on that second place.
Cool. Cheers.
Nicky Taylor in second place, and for the third time tonight, we're talking to Eric Axelsson. Not a win this time, Eric, but a third place. And I want to talk to you about that battle you had right at the end with Elliot Dalton-Ayres, because I was saying on the commentary that, you know, I didn't think you were going to take a big risk to get past Elliot, because fourth place was still good points for the championship. It was a good result. And then next thing I know, you're going around the outside of him at one of the fastest parts of the circuit. You obviously really wanted that third place.
Yeah, I thought so too, for like a couple of minutes, that I was going to be happy with with P4 take the points, but then I had a good run on him, and I decided to go for it. And if it's one driver that I would trust into oblivion, it's Elliot. He's such a fair driver. I can always trust him, even on the outside. So yeah, it was really good racing.
It was. We really enjoyed the battle, and watching you sort of methodically picking your way through the field in the true Eric Axelsson way, and it worked out nicely with the third place. But those extra couple of points that you got from taking third at the end of the race, that could prove crucial. I mean, the last thing you want is to get to the last round and lose the championship by a point, because then you start thinking, well, if only I'd have gone for that third place. So I agree. I think it was the right thing to do, and it does give you, we think, a 23-point advantage going to Silverstone now. So how much of the pressure does that take off you? Not all of it, obviously, but might be able to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, maybe.
If it's it's of course it's some relief, but if it's someone who can muck that up, it's me. We'll see.
You're doing yourself a disservice, Eric. I've got every faith in you. Eric, huge congratulations. Really good night tonight. Pole, a win, and a third place. Really strong performance. Well done.
Thank you, Andy.
So that is Eric Axelsson, third place. Before he scarpers, by the way, I'm going to drag Kyle Felvis back in here. I think he's still in the commentary box, because I did forget to mention that the vote has gone round. I decided that I should open this up to the floor. We are a democracy here, after all, at VRRC. So with the vote has gone out, and we have decided, Kyle, that you are our driver of the round, because it was an incredible first race result with second place, but then that drive through the field to the winning race 2 was particularly spectacular. So congratulations, Kyle. Another little award is making its way towards you. Kyle Felvis, then driver of the round here at Bikernieki, and that just about wraps things up. But before we leave you, let's take a look, shall we, at what the championship situation is. Well, we heard Nicky Taylor saying it was 23 points between Axelsson and he, and that is exactly right. 256 points for Eric Axelsson, 233 for Nicky Taylor in second place, with Kyle Felvis on 224. Now, going into that final week, there will be 57 points available. So some quick mathematics tells me that the top 6 mathematically could still win the championship. You have to be within you have to have scored at least 199 points at this point to stay in contention, and that applies just about to Joel Lask, Josh Martin, and Elliot Dalton-Ayres. But realistically, I think those three just looking to maybe break into the top 3 if they can. But certainly, Axelsen versus Taylor is going to be fascinating, and Kyle Felvis, he's in a difficult position, I think, going to Silverstone. Does he play the team game and back up Nicky Taylor's championship? Because he could really affect that if he, you know, dedicates his final 2 races to getting ahead of and staying ahead of Eric Axelsen, then that could really benefit Nicky. Or is he still holding out some ambitions of taking the title himself? That's going to be a really fascinating plot point going to Silverstone, but it's certainly advantage Axelsen as we head to those final couple of rounds. Outside of championship contention, by the way, still places inside the top 10 for grabs. Andy Carroll and Paul Zanatachi there, 7th and 8th. They could both still move forward. And then Rich Hayden in 9th. Didn't race tonight, but I wonder whether Mr. VRRC will race at Silverstone in a week's time. If he doesn't, then he will likely drop out of the top 10 because Reece Bell is only 6 points behind him, and Mark Hughes on 135, just 13 behind Rich as they go into that final week of racing. John Jones, Paul Laramie, Kenny Press, none of them had particularly good nights tonight. Jens Verhoeven not racing, Scott Gugner likewise, Jordan Brennan and Stuart Vickers will round out the 18 point scorers that we've had so far. Right then, mild panic is setting in for me now, because this is the point at which I normally throw over to Jack Oliphant, where he tells us all about the racing coming up at the VRRC in the near future. So apologies in advance if I absolutely mess this up. But here at the VRRC, there are plenty of opportunities for you to go racing. We've got our Sunday fun races, first of all, which I keep saying I'm going to try and have a go of. It's the McLaren GT3, I believe, this week that will be hosting the Sunday fun races on USA racetrack. So a great opportunity to get behind the wheel of a GT3 car around some proper high-speed circuits. VRRC hosting racing on Assetto Corsa. That's what we've been using here for the VRRC Touring Car Championship. They ventured into iRacing as well of late. Dirt Rally 2.0, if you're more of an off-road fanatic, then they have their rally competitions, which look really, really exciting, actually, and everyone gets a set of time to go and set some times on their favourite stages and see who comes out on top. There are also special events and fun races that are regularly arranged, and to find out all of the information on this, you need to head to the virtual reality social media pages. They're available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, as you can see at the bottom of the page, as well as their Discord, because that's where you'll really keep up to date with all of the comings and goings here at the VRRC. So that is what's coming up in the future here at the VRRC, and the main headline event, if you like, that's coming up in the near future is our final round of the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. I always used to think was a universally loved racetrack by racing drivers. Turns out that Nicky Taylor, at least, is not a particular fan, but someone will be a big fan of that place in a week's time, because that will be where we crown our champion in our first ever hybrid competition here on the VRRC. 2 races with qualifying live at 7:30 UK time, that is, with 2 15-minute races to decide the championship, and with 57 points still remaining, 6 drivers mathematically still in contention. It's going to be a real show. You will not want to miss it. These VRRC championships have a real habit of going right down to the wire, and I've said all season long that this one is likely to be the same, so tune in same time, same place in a week for the championship decider. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Hope you're not sick of the sound of my voice. I will do my very best to drag Jack Oliphant into the commentary box for our decider in a week's time. But for now, a big thank you to everyone here at the VRRC. Tom O'Farrell, who's done a fantastic job all season long of bringing you some top quality pictures. Rich Hayden for organising the events as well. Lots of people who have put some work into this championship. We thank them all, and we'll see them all again in a week's time at Silverstone.